There was one specific moment when I knew I was going to be a lifelong, raving, fanatical fan of the Crimson Tide. And I tell you when that occurred, it was in 1957 at the Iron Bowl, Legion Field. 5 years old, I sat with my father. Alabama lost that game 40-0. The weather was horrible. There was a north wind and rain blowing right in our face the entire game. It was a terrible game. But as we were walking out, my dad was holding my hand. He said, "What'd you think about that?" And I said, "Dad, I loved it. Roll Tide." And from that moment on, I've been a big fan.
Well, I went to school here, and Coach Bryant not only put the University of Alabama on the map, he put the state of Alabama on the map. And I have gotten a lot out of watching particularly Alabama football. I've got a lot of friends that played football. Some of my closest friends, Leroy Jordan, Jerry Duncan, Joe Namath, Ozzie Newsome, played here. And I just wanted to give something back to help the athletic program.
What Coach Bryant brought to Alabama at the time that he came was very important to a lot of people like me, because during the 60s and early 70s, growing up in Alabama, you didn't have a lot to hang your hat on nationally. But what Coach Bryant put on the field with the football teams that he did was something that we could all take pride in.
Being a part of something, I think that regardless of where you are, when you see somebody with the big A on, you say Roll Tide, they say Roll Tide back. So it is part of a society in itself that we belong to. And I think that creating the awareness that where we need to get to as a university to continue to attract the student athletes to make us competitive on the national level. I know everybody, whether we have on women's swimming or women's soccer or men's basketball, we're all pulling for the Crimson Tide.
Giving is a way for him to give back, because he can't, like I said, he did not have a scholarship. He got to Alabama on the GI Bill, and I think that he wanted to give people the opportunities that he had in a way that they could do it. Other people from humble beginnings. So he loved, giving money to scholarship programs. He loved the athletics department because he was a huge sports fan, Alabama fan.
My mom and dad were both school teachers. My dad at Birmingham Southern, and my mom was a junior high teacher at Pleasant Grove Junior High. And I believe in academics, and I believe in student athletes getting their degrees and profiting and benefiting from the 4 years that they spend in athletics. And I knew that Mal had redone that. I was in the process of paying for it, and I wanted to support that. So that was my motivation for giving.
A lot of money was raised in conjunction with renovating Bryant Hall and creating the academic center. That if you read the current status of Alabama athletics, our athletes are really doing wonderful in the academic world. And the fact that we were later then invited to be part of the donor program for the computer lab that was installed in the Bryant Academic Center.
And that was very meaningful to both of us. Tom and I are both real givers at heart, and to be able to see that and to see the effects of what we were doing was a tremendous opportunity for us. And these kids, to me, their athleticism is important and their talents are important, but the education that they get at this university is what's going to sustain them for the rest of their life.
Well, so I got a call from Jim Wilson one day, and Paul Bryant Jr. and Mal and Jim wanted to come up and see me, and I knew they didn't want me to be an assistant coach or the coach or play football, so I figured they were going to ask me for something. But I think most importantly, these gentlemen had a goal that they wanted to achieve, and there was a need to get something done. And of course, I don't think anybody wakes up today saying, hey, I need to give a big significant dollar amount to the University of Alabama. So there has to be the awareness of the need, and I think that's what creates people to want to react in the way they do.
The mission of the A Club is to try to get student athletes, after they have finished their eligibility, to become a member of the A Club. We have fully endowed 2 scholarships in the name of Mal Moore and in the name of Sarah Patterson. and we have made a down payment on scholarships for Jay Sewell, Mick Potter, and Patrick Murphy, who have all three won national championships in their respective sports. We've already started an endowment for those coaches, and we will fully endow those before we're through.
Many years ago, we got a phone call from Mal Moore, and Mal told him, said, "Phil, I need you to come down here." And he said their workout facility is not appropriate. So he came down to the university, toured the workout area, and said it was the worst thing he had ever seen. All the equipment was worn out, and he didn't know how that they were going to get to be the best if they were working out with that workout equipment that was not any good. So he, along with Mal and some other contributors, ended up helping to get new stuff put in there for them. And I remember him talking about it and how important it was. He said there's no way that you can achieve success if you're using stuff that's worn out.
We have two crucial missions: be competitive on the field and provide them an opportunity that will prepare them for the rest of life in a way they can have a high quality life similar to what they've experienced. And you take a kid who can compete at this level, they've gotten a lot of recognition probably since they were in the 7th grade. And then when they graduate, if they're not prepared for life, it's going to be a terrible shock to them to realize that they've got to go out and compete in a different kind of world without the advantage of being a superstar athlete. So we got to prepare them for that, we got to train them, and we got to make sure they get the degree.
Right after Mal Moore became athletic director, I felt that he brought an awful lot of the fragmented parts of the university together. And much credit belongs to him. He came to see me, and we talked, Beverly and I talked over the commitment to the university and to the athletic department. And I understood what he was trying to do. And he had a vision, and he had a plan to get there. And somebody that has a vision and a plan to get there, I generally have made it my practice to try to be a part of it.
I think his proudest moment was when Mal Moore came up to him, and he had been generous with the university, with the Bryant Society, and they really wanted to do a naming for him. And he said, well, he had a great way. He was a much better storyteller than I am. But he said, well, Mal, you can't do that. My last name is Fail. You can't put that on a building. So I think that Mr. Moore pondered on that for a while, and he came back to my dad and he said, you know what, for another $1 million, we found the perfect naming opportunity. We're going to name the visitors' locker room the Fail room. And the grin on my dad's face, he was like, you found it.
Alabama athletics, as I said earlier, has a way of creating a great young student athletes that go on to represent the University of Alabama. And as a member of the alumni, it makes us proud to see these young people go out into society and make a difference. And it's easy to do when you know the success rate, particularly academically, that the athletic department is having with getting these young men and women ready for life.
When you give someone something, you want it to be personalized with knowing exactly whose life you're affecting. And so with the Women's Endowment, I know everyone on the basketball team, and I know the specific child that this endowment is going to. And, I'm kind of her mentor, and I care about her personally. And so I think that is a huge gift that I got back. Anybody can write a check, that's so easy. But when you really invest in a child's life and you care and you mentor and you call them and you check on them, and the program and the coaches, then you're vested. And that to me has been the gift that gave back.
The reason we support athletics and the education side is to see that everyone gets an opportunity, regardless of means, to get that education. And therefore, just because they can't afford to come to the University of Alabama shouldn't be a hindrance help us attracting the best student athlete.
I'm just, honored to be a part of anything university. I mean, it's what I grew up doing. Played, when I was in high school, we played our football games at Bryant Stadium. It's really just the relationship with the people at the university from the bottom up. It's just, you take pride in it, and that's like being proud of what you're around. So that's pretty much it. It's what I want to do. It's what I wanted to do. So now they're, relationships you make and just good people to be friends with.
I could never repay the University of Alabama for what they've done for me. I could never repay Coach Bryant for what he did for me after football was over. He always wanted people to give back. Now, there were several times that I didn't know that if I was going to live long enough to give anything back after going through some of his practice. So I'm glad to know that I made it through, and all the rest of us did. But he always talked to his players about giving back. He wanted you to be successful in life, and he wanted you to give back to the University of Alabama. We have 3 children. All 3 of them have graduated from the University of Alabama. They all 3 attended the university on a Paul Bryant scholarship. And so when things like that happen, and you see what's going on, hopefully our family is going to continue to give, and at least we're planning on it. And so, like I said, I could really never repay the university.
The joy in giving is much better than the joy of receiving selfish things for yourself. And I've heard that all my life, and I didn't believe it that much. I was not fortunate enough to be born into a wealthy family, and so because of success, I have experienced the joy of giving, as Beverly and I together have experienced the joy that comes with giving. So I would just suggest to other people that when they become committed to doing something that you can see the results of, and that is if you give to the athletic department and be involved in the athletic department, it's almost like cutting grass. You can see instant results. And I take a great deal of pride in Alabama winning. And yet I'm not playing and I'm not a part of it, but it transcends into me. And I think people could experience that when they know they're a part of this.
It's time for us to reach out and join hands and make a bigger and bigger circle so that we can bring in more and more money for the university as a whole, and then for athletics specifically, so that we can say we now have enough endowment, a $350 million endowment for every athlete to have a scholarship.
We've got a lot of different buckets that donors can contribute to in any sport that they want, whether it be endowed scholarships, whether it be buildings and facilities, whether it be designated for specific sports or whatever they want to do. There are a lot of options, and I would encourage those to look at all the options and see if there are any areas that resonate with them that they'd like to support and make them feel good about it.
If you're thinking about endowing a scholarship, I just think that's a great thing, because it will help the university, the athletic department, because every time we fully endow a $300,000 scholarship, that's $300,000 that the athletic department does not have to pay to the university.
The business of our sport, though, generates about 80% of what it takes to accomplish our mission, which is to recruit and develop student athletes to compete at the highest levels in all of our sports, to educate and prepare those student athletes to compete at the highest levels after graduation, with graduation being a very important part of that, and to do both with honor and integrity.
The bottom line is you never quit. You got to finish, as Coach Saban says. You play the game hard all the way, and unfortunately or fortunately, the need for financial support will never end, but the enjoyment and satisfaction will go right along with it forever.